Brought to you by Royal Gate Dodge. Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, with the largest inventory of new Dodge vehicles in St. Louis. Visit them in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois. Online at royalgatecars.com. This is Psych with Mike.
Good evening. Welcome into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. This is Psych with Mike. So that was the most close to the official start time that we have ever done running into the studio.
Yeah, you cut it close.
Yeah, I cut it close. We were running in as the lights were coming on. I feel great about it, though, because that means that I am getting comfortable enough with the operation of the show that I feel comfortable running into the studio as the light is lighting up. And that is fantastic. So it is Thanksgiving week. I don't know what you have planned. Do you have big plans for Thanksgiving? Do you ever have a big soiree that you get into for Thanksgiving?
Well, everybody has a big soiree of some sort in their own little way, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You know, close family, friends.
Well, most people have this idea of Thanksgiving and the holidays in general that, you know, they're going to have family around, and for different people, that means different things. For some people, it means that they're going to be really enjoying that. For other people, it means that they're going to have to work hard, or there's going to be some struggle, or maybe some kind of family strife. And so around this time in my business, we always start talking about this and having conversations about how people can get through the holidays and do that in a sane, healthy way that makes them feel good about themselves and about their interactions with their family members. And so we were talking about that this week, and I was talking to a client, and one of my clients said, "Oh, I feel so much better." Now, that isn't necessarily unusual, but this person said, "I feel so much better. Why is that?" And I said, well, because, you know, psychotherapy is a good thing. And when people go and they have therapy, generally the idea is that you're supposed to feel better, or there would be no point in going to therapy. And this person said, why? Why does therapy work? And so we had this conversation about why therapy works, but it made me think, I don't think that we've ever talked about why therapy works, and it often isn't a conversation that most people have with their therapist. And so I thought, oh, this is obviously something that we should definitely have a conversation about, is why do people go to psychotherapy? What is it about psychotherapy that is different from you having a conversation with a really good friend, or with your priest, or with a significant other? So is psychotherapy different than those other kinds of interactions? The answer is that it should be, or there's no reason to pay for psychotherapy. But is it always? And if it is, why is it different? And so then I started thinking, okay, well, we definitely need to have a conversation about that. But so that's going to be the conversation we're going to have tonight. So if you have questions or comments about psychotherapy, about what it is, about your experience in it, or why it works, what is different about psychotherapy than other relationships or interactions, give us a call. Area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. But this week is Thanksgiving week. It's the start of the holidays. I am seeing decorations going up all over town. I'm starting to see the commercials, and starting to think in my own head about things that we're going to do for the holidays. So what are your plans for this week?
This week, I obviously have to work. I'm here with Mark Cox all week, and then we've got Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day, a little lunch, a little turkey, that kind of good stuff. In-laws, that sort of thing. It's going to be great.
And do you guys cook at your house? Do you go somewhere else?
There will be cooking done at our house, and then it will be transported over to in-laws' house.
So
yes.
Somebody makes the turkey, and then everybody brings a dish. Is that the
yep,
kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of chip in.
So for people who maybe don't know, didn't listen last week, shame on you if you didn't, but my family is going through a situation. My sister-in-law is in the hospital, and so we are now talking about what we are going to do, because this now is presenting a unique kind of situation for us where, number one, we have a tremendous amount of extended family that's actually around because she's in the hospital and she is in a coma. And so there's a lot of people who are around that may not have always been around at this time. But we also now have this situation where we really can't go to somebody's house and spend the whole day. And so we are in the midst of planning what our holiday is going to look like under this new kind of paradigm. And I am both really, really excited about what this is going to look like and really terrified, because it could be incredibly fantastic, and it could go horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. So I will let everybody know, give everybody an update when I know, but I am actually pretty excited because we do have a lot of people in town that aren't always around, and that is something that I'm really excited about. And I think that this is going to be a really great opportunity for everybody to share in a very unique way. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of high emotion, and that is always difficult for people. So when we think in context of being able to get through the holidays in a way that is good for everybody, that is healthy for everybody, that makes people feel good about themselves and makes them feel good about their relationships and things like that, the biggest advice, the biggest piece of advice, the most significant piece of advice that I can give any single individual is don't overtax yourself. People always feel like they have to do more, do one more thing, that they have to create a perfect environment, and that just isn't realistic. Nobody is ever going to be perfect. No situation is ever going to be perfect. No interaction is going to be perfect. No meal is ever going to be perfect. So don't try and make it perfect. Try and make it something that you enjoy. And if, you know, because I've had people say to me in therapy, well, what I enjoy is everybody else enjoying it. You don't control that. You only control what you do. So if you do everything that you can to make this presentation the best possible presentation that you can under the limits that you have in your life, that's all you can do. If other people don't enjoy that, that isn't your fault, and it really ultimately isn't your problem unless you make it your problem. And so then that is my segue into the first kind of the first aspect of psychotherapy that I wanted to talk about. So when I'm talking about why psychotherapy works, what I want to do is to break it down into three kinds of theories of psychotherapy. So if you want to know all about psychotherapy in absolute minute detail, take my class at WashU. It's going to be starting in January through University College, Perspectives on Counseling. And we'll go through all the theories of psychology in a tremendous amount of detail. But what I'm going to try and do tonight is give everybody a little primer of what these different theories look like, because within the context of what these different theories look like is an explanation about why they work. And the first theory that I wanted to talk about is the cognitive behavior theory, which is the predominant, most commonly encountered kind of psychology that people are going to get. If you go see a therapist today, most people are going to be introduced to what's called cognitive behavior therapy. And the reason for that is that insurance companies and third-party payers love cognitive behavior therapy because it's something that can be what is called operationalized. So doing cognitive behavior therapy, I can write a treatment plan that says you will reduce your symptoms by X number of occurrences within a certain period of time, and I can chart whether or not that happens. So insurance companies love that, and people who are paying love that. It may or may not be the best way to do psychotherapy, but it is very easy to be able to gauge or document that kind of progress. And the reason why cognitive behavior therapy works is because the way that you think controls to a great extent how you feel. So one of the things that I say about psychotherapy all the time, I say this to my clients, I say this to my students, is nobody ever went to psychotherapy because they had a problem. People go to psychotherapy because a problem in their lives causes them to be emotionally dysregulated. So emotional dysregulation means that you are having problems or difficulty being emotionally comfortable. And usually the reason you are having difficulty being emotionally comfortable is because there's something in your life that is causing that emotional dysregulation. So if you don't have any problems emotionally regulating, then it doesn't matter how big your problems are. You don't need anybody's help. If you are having problems emotionally regulating, then it doesn't matter how small your problems are. They are difficult for you to deal with. So people don't go to therapy because they have a problem. People go to therapy because they cannot emotionally regulate effectively. So therapy is designed to help people be able to emotionally regulate. And the way in which the therapist goes about helping individuals emotionally regulate more effectively and efficiently is the crux of psychotherapy. And that's what makes it different than talking to your best friend or talking to your priest or talking to your spouse. These other people may help you to be able to emotionally regulate better, or they may not, but probably their goal is not to help you emotionally regulate better. They're not educated, and they don't have as their primary focus the obvious or stated goal of trying to help you emotionally regulate. So in psychotherapy, we are focused on helping our clients to be able to emotionally regulate. In cognitive behavior therapy, the way that they do that is to say to you, the way that you think is affecting the way that you feel. And if you change the way that you think, then you are going to effectively change the way that you feel. And so the link that I put on at Psych With Mike, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Psych With Mike on Twitter. You can like the Facebook page at Psych With Mike. And I always try and put something up there for people to look at on the Facebook page. And the link that I put up today was an article on specifically cognitive behavior therapy and the power of it. And the power of it is in this idea that if you change what you think, then you will change how you feel. Now, in a purely biological context, how you feel is a much more basic function of your brain than what you think. And so your feelings are always going to overwhelm what you think, which means that when a person is having a really, really intense emotional reaction, they're not going to be able to think rationally or logically. So the first thing that has to happen when you're having a really intense emotional reaction is that you're either going to have to allow that emotional reaction to play out until you are calmer so that you can think rationally, or you're going to have somebody help you to be able to reframe what you are thinking so that that emotion will dissipate. It will start to slow down, and eventually disappear. So a good quality trained psychotherapist will help a client to be able to change, reframe what they are thinking that is causing that intense emotional reaction. So if, for example, I am going into the holidays and I am dreading going to a family member's home because I know that there's going to be a bad interaction, and I am focused on that, and I am telling myself, I hate this, I can't stand it, this is horrible, then clearly I am going to feel badly about that impending doom that I perceive. Now, if I change that to, this is unfortunate, or maybe even I'm looking forward to this event, that's going to change completely the way that I feel about this event. So today, I was in line at Starbucks, and the gal in front of me had ordered, I say 5, my wife says 4 drinks that require extensive preparation. So these drinks, I don't know what they are. It's some kind of half-calf macchiato with ice, but not a lot of ice, and whipped cream and froth and things. So
a coffee milkshake.
Yes, exactly. A coffee milkshake, very well played. And so my rule is, and this is my rule, this is the rule in my head, right? Not the actual rule, is that if you're going to order a coffee milkshake, you should go in, not order that from the drive-thru. So in the drive-thru, I order bold black coffee. So that means somebody takes a carafe, they pour it in a cup, and they hand it to me. So I think if you're going to order a coffee milkshake, you should go in. This lady ordered 5 of them. My wife says 4. I say 5. And then we get around to the pay window, and it's taken forever, and I am kind of impatient, but I said to my wife, okay, you know what? I am going to choose to reframe this situation. I'm going to choose to believe that this gal is ordering, she's come to Starbucks because there's a group of people at her home and they're making Christmas cookies, and she volunteered to go to Starbucks for the whole group. And I felt better. And then I got up to the window and found out that she had used a Starbucks gift card, and it had more on the card than what her order was. And so she had just left the Starbucks gift card with the attendant there and paid for half of our order. So that was really nice. So I had reframed how I felt about that, and then it was reinforced because this positive thing happened, and I left that line feeling great when I could have left that line feeling horrible. So the way that we think about a situation has a real impact on the way that we feel. And this is reflected in things like positive psychology, the power of positive thinking. So people have been talking about this in a lot of different forms. At its basic core, it's just basic rational emotive therapy. And so that's the first way in which psychology and going to a therapist helps people feel better, is that it helps them to reframe the way that they think, and that has a tremendous impact on the way that they feel. So we're going to go to our first break. If you have a question or comment about this, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. When we come back, we're going to pick this up, talk about some more psychology. Be right back.
Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight. Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
Hey guys, Tony Colombo here. Join Mark Close and me for the Queen Tribute Show, Somebody to Love, presented by Weber Chevrolet, Friday, December 1st at Ballpark Village. It's free and all ages are welcome. Just bring a toy for Toys for Tots and enjoy the music of the Queen. Get all the details at 971talk.com.
After up my day, let's get it started. Turn it up, turn it on. Keep the morning moving right along.
Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Steincross.
And I'm Margie Ellisor.
Well, we here at Fox 2 News in the Morning,
Including John Pertzborn, Lisa Hart,
Randy Naughton, Kim Hudson,
and Glenn Zimmerman.
we want to thank you for watching Fox 2 News in the Morning.
See you Monday.
Waking up my day.
If you've been contacted for past due tax debt, garnishments, levies, and liens, remember the Constitution affords you due process before this can happen. Hi, I'm local tax attorney Lance Drury, and I've helped hundreds of individuals and small businesses resolve their disputes with the Missouri Department of Revenue and the IRS. I have more than 30 years of legal experience, and I know your rights. Schedule your appointment today and let's meet face-to-face to go over my 8-point plan. My strategy is to get you the lowest settlement allowed by law. My firm and I will handle the filing and negotiations for you or on your business's behalf. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, we want to make sure that you're satisfied with the outcome. So call me now, Tax Resolution Attorney Lance Drury, at 314-238-7360, or go to Lance, DRURYlaw.com. That's Lance, DRURYlaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, if you want granite, won't you want to go to the place where the designers and the builders go? That's right, Aphrodite Granite, and now there is still time. You can order by 12/4 and still get everything for your family gathering. Let's face it, everyone gathers around the kitchen, and how about an Aphrodite Granite kitchen? That's right, all-size kitchens starting only $19.95. They install 50 kitchens a week because their prices and quality are the absolute best. AphroditeGranite.com.
It's Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram's Driven to Deal sales event. We're going for a record month, and we will make it happen. Start with the best inventory in the Gateway. Over 1,000 choices ready to drive home. Sale prices? We will be the lowest. Payments? How about less than you're paying now? Financing? We have guaranteed credit approval. Trade-ins? We need them, so bring them, because we're giving out driving force trade dollars on every one of them. Jeep and Ram buyers, we've got thousands in Black Friday sales event specials you won't get anywhere else. We will not be beat on any new Jeep or Ram deal, period. 2 convenient locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri and Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County or online at RoyalGateCars.com, because we are driven to deal. Number 1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
All offers with approved credit, negative equity added to new contract. Minimum reported income $1,500 per month.
Trending on FM News Talk 97.1.
Listen to Al.
Hi, Al.
Let's move on.
He knew that picture was out there.
Disgusting and deeply troubling.
Assaulting me backstage.
Stay connected.
Roy Moore should step aside.
Quit standing when they lay me in that box. Put me in the ground.
Exciting day for the American people.
This is
The House just voted to pass sweeping tax reform.
FM News Talk 97.1.
The bill is only growing more monstrous in the Senate.
Younger, smarter, better.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios, Psych with Mike. We are talking about psychology and therapy and how it's different than talking to your friend or your priest or your significant other, and why psychotherapy makes people feel better. I had an experience this week where someone had said to me, hey, why is this a good thing? And it occurred to me that we had never talked about it on the show, so I thought, well, we should definitely go and talk about that because it is something that probably most people don't know, don't understand, and think maybe some kind of mythical or magical kind of happenstance when it's not. I've said the same thing about emotions. People don't, in psychology, don't do a good job of being able to explain to people the biology behind emotions, but an emotion is only a hormonal release in your body. It is something that causes your body to change at a biochemical level and causes you to change the way that you feel, but it isn't a mystery. And when people can understand a thing, then it gives them more power over that thing. So knowledge is power, in my opinion. That's the way that I do psychotherapy. And so in this next segment, what I wanted to talk about is the way that I do psychotherapy. So I do a lot of cognitive behavioral things. We talked about that in the first segment. So cognitive behavioral therapy is the branch of psychology that says the way that you think affects the way that you feel, and that is absolutely true. But the goal of psychotherapy is to help people to be able to deal more effectively with their emotions. That's the whole crux of it. And so I am what is called a psychodynamic therapist. So psychodynamic therapy is therapy that is based on the original work of Sigmund Freud and all of the people then that came after him. So I don't practice classic psychoanalysis. So that's where you lay on a couch and the therapist sits behind you and you talk about your mother, and then the therapist falls asleep and charges you a tremendous amount of money, and you're in therapy 6 or 7 days a week for 7 years. And most people are saying, oh, that's ridiculous. But no, that is actually classic psychotherapy, is 4 or 5 times a week for 7 years. And you basically, at the end of that time, are really, really poor. And so your cognitive dissonance, again, cognitive dissonance is the idea that you can't hold two conflicting thoughts in your mind simultaneously. Your cognitive dissonance forces you to believe that you got better. Because why would you invest all of this money in something that didn't make you better? Now, why am I saying that when I am saying that I am a psychodynamic therapist? Because I am psychodynamic. So I'm not psychoanalytic. So Freud was psychoanalytic. I am psychodynamic. What is the difference between being psychoanalytic and being psychodynamic? Psychodynamic just means that I believe in the motivational theory of human behavior. So cognitive behavior theory doesn't really account for what your motivation is. So you think a certain thing, and that makes you feel a certain way, but it doesn't talk about why are you motivated to feel that way. So in my branch of psychotherapy, I believe that the way that a person is motivated is very important in understanding how they got to be in the place that they are, and subsequently why it is that they have a tendency to have a certain behavioral reaction to a given stimulus. So, for example, some people use conflict as a way of initiating intimacy. So if you've ever thought about, oh, that's great makeup sex, that is using conflict as a way to establish intimacy. Some people use conflict as a way to gain distance. So I'm going to initiate conflict so that I can get distance from you so that I don't have to be confronted. Those are two very different ways in which people use conflict. But individuals who use conflict to initiate intimacy and individuals who use conflict as a way of gaining distance are oftentimes attracted to each other in a relationship. And then they get in that relationship, and each of them is using conflict for a different reason, and neither one of them understands that, and they don't understand each other, and their communication is not good, not because they don't like each other, but because they don't understand the motivation that their partner has for the way that they use conflict. And once a person understands that, then they have better knowledge and a better way of being able to interact with that significant other. And so this idea of motivation is foundational for the way that I practice psychotherapy, and is another reason why psychotherapy is different than talking to your friend or talking to your spouse or talking to your priest. When somebody comes to me to talk about a problem, I am constantly evaluating what is that individual's motivation for that problem. And for me, it goes back to the early years in which an individual learns their emotional regulation. So human beings learn emotional regulation in the first 2 or 3 years of their lives before they learn how to speak. So most of the foundation for how you learned to be able to regulate emotionally with the world, you learned before you learned how to speak. And that was a process, and the process starts with what's called mirroring. And so mirroring is when people recognize you for things that you do well. So think about this. If a baby is just starting to learn how to walk, and so the baby claws its way up the leg of a piece of furniture and takes a couple of tentative steps and falls into the mother's arms, and the mother scoops the baby up and says, "Oh, baby, that was fantastic. That was great. You're such a great baby. I love you." Does the baby want to do that again? Absolutely. The baby can't wait to do that again. But if the baby claws its way up the leg of a piece of furniture and stands there wobbling, takes a couple of tentative steps, falls backwards on its diaper, and everybody starts laughing, "Ah, ha, 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 that crazy baby. Did you see that? We should get that on video, put it on YouTube, and it'll go viral." Does that baby want to do that again? Absolutely not. And so that early mirroring, the way in which an individual was responded to by significant others in their environment, lays the foundation for what becomes your emotional regulation. Then after that, you're going to do what's called idealize that external object. So you're going to idealize the significant other or the primary caregiver, whether or not they're good at their job. So you're going to idealize either that caregiver that scoops you up and makes you feel loved, or you're going to idealize that caregiver that laughs at you and makes you feel self-conscious. And then you're going to create what's called twinship. You're going to take the things that you idealize, and you're going to carry them around inside of you. And that's going to lay the basic foundation for your emotional regulation. So that is how people either learn how to be confident and secure and comfortable, or learn how to be insecure, very self-confident, and very worried about their security in the larger world. And so that basic foundation of how you resolved that when you were very young lays the foundation for what your motivation is going to be for the rest of your life. So are you going to be motivated from a perspective of security and confidence, or are you going to be motivated from a place of insecurity and very worried and unconfident? So I'm always thinking about, okay, what is this person's motivation, and trying to evaluate what that process looked like for them when they were younger. So that's a part of why Freud was all about, okay, talk to me about your mother. And, the old joke is that everything that ever happened to you was your mother's fault. That's an oversimplification of the theory, but at its core, that is exactly what I am looking for, is what was the level at which this individual learned security when they were growing up based on that kind of mirroring that they got from their family of origin. Now, does that mean that a person who learned insecurity when they were very young has absolutely no capacity to be able to feel more secure? Absolutely not. But what is true is that a person is always going to react to their environment based on the level of emotional stimulation, and they are going to regress to their most infantile defense mechanisms in correlation to that. So what does that mean? What that means is that when you feel the most emotionally intense, that's when you're going to regress to your most basic defense mechanism. So you can learn lots of defense mechanisms, and those can be effective for people through their lives. And in 98.99% of your interactions, you're going to learn really great positive defense mechanisms and effective emotional regulation. But there's still going to be some time where you're going to feel insecure because there's going to be really, really emotionally intense information that you're going to experience, and that's going to cause you to regress. So in my life, I grew up in a very insecure environment. I've learned really, really good defense mechanisms, and 99% of the time, I operate very effectively. There's a little bit of the time where I don't because the information is so emotionally intense. So I'm always trying to help people to identify what that motivation is, because that gives them the ability to understand. And again, knowledge is power. Okay, we got to run to our second break. So if you have any questions or comments about this topic, or you just want to talk a little bit about your own experience, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. Be right back.
Let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797, or toll free 866-455-9797. This is Psych with Mike.
Do you
Join Jamie Allman for a special happy hour event with the Heritage Foundation, Thursday, November 30th at Cyberg's on Dorset, with a panel discussion on tax relief for the American people and how it benefits Missouri families. Details and register for this free event at 971talk.com.
It's Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram's Driven to Deal sales event. We're going for a record month, and we will make it happen. Start with the best inventory in the Gateway. Over 1,000 choices ready to drive home. Sale prices? We will be the lowest. Payments? How about less than you're paying now? Financing? We have guaranteed credit approval. Trade-ins? We need them, so bring them, because we're giving out driving force trade dollars on every one of them. Jeep and Ram buyers, we've got thousands in Black Friday sales event specials you won't get anywhere else. We will not be beat on any new Jeep or Ram deal, period. 2 convenient locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri, and Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County, or online at royalgatecars.com, because we are driven to deal. Number 1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
All offers with approved credit, negative equity added to new contract. Minimum reported income $1,500 per month.
Have you discovered the Lombardo difference? Discover unrivaled quality and extraordinary details. Discover customization perfectly suited to you. Discover Lombardo Homes' newest community, Heritage at Hawk Ridge in Lake St. Louis. Grand opening Saturday, November 4th. Heritage of Hawk Ridge offers spacious ranch villas from 1,600 to over 2,000 square feet, starting in the 250s. The desirable community amenities include a 10,000 square foot clubhouse, outdoor pool, tennis courts, fitness center, on-site restaurant, and planned community activities. Learn more at lombardohomes.com.
Diamonds Direct takes value to a whole new level this weekend with the biggest sale of the year. Friday through Sunday only, you save an extra 20% and more on virtually everything. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, colored gemstones, and listen, the selection is like double with entire designer lines flown in for this. Each piece on sale. Don't miss this truly extraordinary pre-holiday buying opportunity. Best values of the year and special financing. Friday, Saturday, and yep, even open Sunday, only at Diamonds Direct.
Olive in 270.
It's Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram's Driven to Deal sales event. We're going for a record month, and we will make it happen. Start with the best inventory in the Gateway. Over 1,000 choices ready to drive home. Sale prices? We will be the lowest. Payments? How about less than you're paying now? Financing? We have guaranteed credit approval. Trade-ins? We need them, so bring them, because we're giving out driving force trade dollars on every one of them. Jeep and Ram buyers, we've got thousands in Black Friday sales event specials you won't get anywhere else. We will not be beat on any new Jeep or Ram deal, period. 2 convenient locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri and Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County or online at RoyalGateCars.com, because we are driven to deal. Number 1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
All offers with approved credit, negative equity added to new contract. Minimum reported income $1,500 per month.
Janie Allman in the morning.
Hey, Monday, Pepe Le Pew suddenly decides not to get into politics. Plus, Jimmy Hoffa, the Gateway Pundit. We've got Rod the Bod and Rob Raines on sports.
On FM News Talk
97.1.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So I know that they just gave the phone lines out. I'm going to give them again because it's always better when you hear the host giving out the lines. Area code 314-969-9797. 866-455-9797. So just 1 minute of self-indulgence. You know, the bumper music are the songs about the people in my nuclear family. And Do You Realize is my daughter's song. And as I had shared with you guys last week, we worked out some chemistry and things and had offered a treatment plan to the doctors at Barnes to help my sister-in-law that they had not heard of, but we were able to make a cogent enough argument that they said, yes, this sounds like this could be beneficial. And so they went ahead and they implemented the treatment plan, which was super, super cool. And my daughter, who is just starting medical school, had a lab practical on Monday, and she was freaking out. No, my daughter graduated valedictorian, and she is way over obsessed about school and things related to school. And so she was looking at going to this lab practical, and she was all upset. And she was like, I haven't had enough time to study. And I've said to her before, look, I am going to have to intervene here. I may have to physically slap you. When the cops show up, they're going to tell you that I'm justified because this is ridiculous. You can't do this to yourself. And I don't mean that. I would never hit either of my children. But I said to her, look, how many people in your class will have or will ever do what we did over this last weekend? And she said none. And I said, okay, so that is your perspective. Use that as the way that you view your prism through which you view the world. That's what you did this weekend. And it has been such an incredible confidence boost for her. I've never seen her more confident or happier. And so I am glad that we have been able to share that and that has been her experience. And so we've been talking about psychotherapy, how psychotherapy is different than talking to your spouse, talking to your priest, talking to your best friend. And so the first thing that we talked about was cognitive behavior therapy and this idea that what you think affects how you feel. And then in the second segment, we talked about the kind of therapy that I practice, which is psychodynamic, and that is that your motivation matters. And now this third theory that I want to talk about is the theory that my son is in love with. And so my son, if you don't know, it has been on the show before. He has a master's degree in counseling. He doesn't work in the field because he makes a lot of money doing something else, but he is educated. And so we do have a lot of conversations about therapy and about what good therapy is. And he is in love with a guy called Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl is the father of existential psychology. I have talked about Viktor on the program before. He lived through World War II. His entire family was exterminated in a Nazi concentration camp. And one of Viktor's primary tenets of therapy after he got out of the concentration camps when they were liberated, he was in Dachau when the Allies came through and liberated the camps. And he then went on to build a very successful career as a speaker and as a clinician. And one of the things that he would always say is that no one can imprison you but you. And people would say, but Viktor, the Nazis put you in a concentration camp and killed your entire family, and you guys didn't have a choice. And Viktor would say, we all had a choice. You could run. You would get shot, but you could run, and that was your choice. Everybody always had a choice. The only time that you are ever imprisoned, the only time that you are ever a slave is when you give up your choice, when you give up your right to choose. Then you imprison yourself. Now, I have a difficult time saying that to my clients because while I may feel like I have lived a checkered life, it was nowhere near on par with the things that Viktor Frankl experienced in his life. And so I wouldn't try and compare those things. And I feel like that if I said that, it comes off as hollow and insincere. Viktor could say that because he lived that life. But in existential psychology, this is the basic foundational principle that you are responsible for you. You are responsible for your choices. You are responsible for how your life evolves, that no one is ever a victim. Now, we live in a world where, we have this idea that everything is fair. And then, once we identify a victim class, then they're victims, whether that's racial or ethnic or gender. And right now with, the Harvey Weinstein and all of the stuff that's coming out about sexual abuse. And I'm not saying that there are not victims. Okay. That isn't what I'm saying. What I am saying is that from the perspective of existential psychology, when an individual is faced with adverse situations, their job is to try and figure out how to be able to see the learning that they can get from that. So your job is to sit down and to figure out how you can grow and use that as a way to make yourself a better person. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that people should not perceive themselves as victims or that people aren't victims, so don't crucify me. I am saying that Viktor would say that everybody had the responsibility to figure out how to grow from the experiences that they've had in their lives, and this is a man who lived through a Nazi occupation death camp. So I don't know how people can always do that, but the difference between psychotherapy and just talking to a friend or a priest or a spouse is that those individuals are mostly going to try and help a person to experience empathy and sympathy. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but the goal of an existential therapist is to help that individual to come to a point where they can take responsibility for themselves and to see new learning opportunities in their experiences. Just like I'm talking about with my daughter, you know, my sister-in-law being in the hospital in a coma is a very tragic thing. And it is emotionally very difficult for all of us. But this opportunity to build this treatment plan with my daughter and work out the chemistry to be able to go to Chicago and pick up the medicine and have it have a beneficial impact on my sister-in-law is something that has helped her to find a sense of confidence that she has not been able to find any other way. And that's a positive. So would I trade my sister-in-law's health for this confidence boost that my daughter is experiencing? Absolutely. I would do that in a heartbeat. Okay. But this positive thing has come out of this negative experience. And the point is, it doesn't make you a bad person to be okay with that. It doesn't make you a bad person to find positive in a negative. We are conditioned that if you lose a significant other and you cry and you experience grief and then you feel better, we're told that you're bad. That is wrong. That defies your DNA. That defies your basic biology. Your biology is created to make you feel better after loss. That's what grief is. That is its only purpose for existing, is to make you feel better after you have experienced a loss. So what causes us to not feel better is this idea of rumination. So feeding that negative thought back on itself, again, this is a cognitive behavior thing, that when you feed that negative thought on a loop, that keeps you locked into a negative perspective that causes you to feel bad. That's not your biology. Your biology wants you to feel better. Your biology wants you to experience loss, to process it and feel better. That doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you a human being. And so what Viktor Frankl and the existential psychologists say is it's your responsibility to do you, to find positives in your experience and even to find positives in negative experiences. And that doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't belittle the negative experience. So I'm not belittling anyone's negative experience by encouraging you as an individual to find a positive in that. And if you come to a therapist office, my hope is that that therapist is going to help you to be able to process that negative event and to find a positive in it. An existential psychologist absolutely would. And that is the third way in which psychology is different from just talking to a friend, talking to a loved one, or talking to a priest or some other paraprofessional. So the three ways in which psychology is different that we've talked about tonight is, number one, cognitive behavior therapy is that what you think affects how you feel. Number two is psychodynamic therapy, which says that your motivations matter. And number three is from existential psychology, and that you are responsible for doing you. And those ways are ways in which doing psychotherapy or going to psychotherapy is different from having a conversation with a spouse, a loved one, or a paraprofessional. Now, might you experience these things if you have those conversations with one of those other individuals? Absolutely. But this is the way in which psychology is different. So I started off by saying, you know, I had somebody come to me this week and say, hey, what is different about psychology than is different about, just talking to someone else? And those are the ways in which it's different. All right. So I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. I hope that maybe some of what we've talked about tonight maybe helps you to be able to go out and have a great Thanksgiving and to be able to experience some kind of positivity, even if you are going into a situation that you perceive could be potentially negative. But what I want everybody to remember is The one piece of advice, the most significant piece of advice that I give anyone going into the holiday season is do what makes you feel comfortable. Don't try and be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. Perfection is a myth, and the more that you strive for perfection, the less perfect that you are going to be. So just do what you can, do what makes you feel comfortable, and if anyone doesn't like or appreciate that, then that's about them, not about you. Okay? So you can follow me on Twitter at Psych With Mike. You can like the Facebook page at Psych With Mike. On Saturday nights, if it's 8 p.m., it's Psych With Mike. See you next week.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike.
Don't let a flooded basement ruin your holidays. Is your basement protected against groundwater intrusion from heavy rains or snowmelt, which increases pressure on basement floors and walls? If you already have cracks in your basement floors or walls, it won't be long before water finds its way in, causing property damage, mold and mildew, and creating an unhealthy environment for you and your family. What are you waiting for? Call the basement experts at Midwest Basement Tech for a guaranteed solution on how to protect your basement against water intrusion. Our estimates are free and save 10% on all orders placed before January 1st. We service the complete St. Louis metro area with certified technicians available to service any type of foundation problem your home may have. Family owned for 40 years. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Need sump pump service or backup protection against power outages? We do that too. Call now to schedule your free estimate at 800-848-9805. That's 800-848-9805. Or visit us at MidwestBasementTech.com.
It's Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Rams driven to deal